Hi there. Today we will be talking about market segmentation strategy. The figure behind us on this slide is really nice because it shows that a large market can be segmented into smaller individual groups. So we can use that same idea. We'll talk about that in this video. So let's go ahead and jump in. What is market segmentation? The idea is very simply to subdivide the market in a particular way. We obviously can group relatively similar individuals doing this. The point is that we should be looking at individuals who are similar by some characteristics. Like if we wanted to, we could segment the market business customers versus consumer customers. Very easy way that we can subdivide the market. That's two big broad categories that we talk about, B2B versus B2C. Each group can be viewed as a potential target market, and so with that, it's very important that we may have to develop a distinct marketing mix for each of these different target markets, and that is because we have to target these different customers in different ways, right? The reason why we're segmenting them into a different group is because they're different by some type of characteristic. So the whole idea here is that while we may have to provide different products to those different customer groups, we also have to consider other parts of the marketing mix. So with that, we may have to target them with different promotions. We may also have to price our products differently. We may also have to place our products in different areas to get the attention of those other customers. So with that, we consider all 4 P's of the marketing mix whenever we're considering different target markets. Why are we focused on market segmentation? Well, really the key here is we have this idea of demand, and that's demand within an industry. So let's talk about demand within the fast food industry. We could have demand that's perfectly homogeneous, which means that every customer wants exactly the same market offering. So in the fast food industry, this would mean that all customers, they want burgers. That's it. Customers only want burgers, and they only want one type of burger. So you can imagine that this is just burgers, don't have any other type of fast food. All we have is burgers, and we have one type of burger. Well, that's not very common, right? But in a perfectly heterogeneous demand, we have every customer wants a unique market offering. So every customer, they want a different type of fast food, and they want a different way that they want it made. So, for example, if we talk about McDonald's as our firm, we could say every customer wants their burger made differently. They want a different size of fry that goes with it. They want a different toppings on their burger. They want different times they're going to want that offering provided to them, and they're going to want different locations. So a lot of the demand we can think of as probably what? It's closer to heterogeneous, but obviously it can be perfectly heterogeneous because firms, they are able to provide mass customization or a mass of products that are similar in a particular way. So with that, because customers want different things, we can use segmentation as approach to provide a major group of customers with one type of product, provide another group of customers with a different type of product, and segment the market that is in a way beneficial to the firm rather than costing the firm money by targeting customers who may not want that product, right? If we don't segment the market, then we're just kind of out there targeting general groups, and that really doesn't help us because we're wasting money when we could be focusing our attention on particular target markets. And so really the idea with segmentation is focusing the firm resources on particular customer groups in a way that's beneficial for the firm. So there are some different segmentation strategies, some being more common than others, and some being more general than others. So we'll talk about a few of these general market segmentation strategies. There are 4 types of market segmentation strategies that are common. One being the undifferentiated strategy, so we can think of products like gasoline, where you don't really have to differentiate your product too much because consumers need gasoline in general. They're not really trying to target particular customers to purchase gasoline, right? Gasoline is one of those products where it is gasoline or it's not. And so they really don't have to target customers in different ways because generally consumers just need gasoline to fill up their car or truck. We also have niche segmentation strategies. So this is focusing on a particular, very particular market segment who wants a very particular market offering. So the company that I brought up here in the picture is Freshly. I've talked about them before in previous videos. They are specifically trying to target the group of customers, small market segment of customers who want a fresh meal, but they don't want to have to make that meal. So they want the meal delivered, they want it ready, and they want it for convenience. We also have the differentiated approach, which we're probably very familiar with because we see that whenever we purchase products. The differentiated approach is how there's different types of products to attract different types of consumers. So in the cereal aisle, you obviously have the sugary sweet cereals that are common for kids, and then we have maybe some of the healthier cereals that are meant for like adults who may have heart health issues. They try to attract them. Like we can think of like Cheerios, for example. They try to target customers who are focused on heart health. We also have like Honey Bunches of Oats or Wheaties. There's so many different types of cereals that are targeting different consumer segments. And obviously it works because those type of customers, they're purchasing their products. So they have, if you've seen like a Lucky Charms commercial, they're definitely targeting kids, right? They have it animated, it's fun. And so with Lucky Charms, we definitely know that their main target market is children. And so they differentiate their products to attract these different consumer segments. Then we have mass customization. And mass customization is where a company offers a product, like Nike offers their shoes, and they offer it in a way that you can customize it in very distinct ways. And so before, mass customization really wasn't, companies didn't have that ability because personalization was very difficult, right? Before product lines became available in the manufacturing lines, it was very difficult for them to mass customize things. Now, back in the early 1920s, mass production was easier, and we're going to talk about some of those, but mass customization is much more common today because companies can produce things in massive quantities, but they can also customize them in distinct ways. Another company that does this is like Apple. They can provide some customization for your iPhones. They also even offer iPhones in different colors. Before they were offering like the iPods where you could engrave them. You could do different things, and they still do this for like, I think the Apple Watch you can engrave. There's lots of different ways like switching the bands for the Apple Watch. They make it to where customization is possible in small, minute ways. It may not be where you can customize every detail, but at least you can customize in very small ways. So those are our 4 main types of segmentation strategies. We also can consider the production cycle, and I was alluding to this. We have craft production to mass customization. We talked previously about this craft production where there's very small shop produced or customized products. Before, this was like gunsmiths where they produced the gun for each individual customer, or even cobblers where they made shoes specifically for the individual's foot. And so cobblers were very common. Obviously, we don't have as many today, but they still do offer custom shoes. It's just not what you are pretty familiar with. Next, we had mass production, which we're probably familiar with because we've seen factory-produced standardized products. The first mass-produced really product line that was coming out was the Ford Model T, and they have a saying, in any color he wants so long as it was black. So they could not change the color. All they offered was black, and that was it. But with mass production, you drive down production costs, and that's really key, is that it's much more efficient. But with mass customization, you could keep the low cost associated with mass production, but offer personalization with that. So now we're in the mass customization age. We can also talk about specific ways a company can segment the market. We have this where we can have ways that we can measure the segmentation, and then there's also different ways where we can talk about customer characteristics, whether they're general or specific. So whenever we're talking about objective and general customer characteristics, we can think of geography is a way that we could segment the market, our sex or gender based off of our age. So we talked about how they segment the cereal market based off of age. We could talk about the family life cycle, so what stage they're at, whether like you're a young adult, you don't have kids, based off of your income. So it's very easy for a company to really, like, say if they wanted to target only wealthy individuals, they could easily do that. Buying power index, how much ability they have to afford things, and then we could also target based off of race and ethnicity if we know that particular races or ethnicities are more common to purchase specific types of products. We could also have objective and situation-specific measures using the heavy half, 80-20, or brand loyalty. Heavy half is where 50% of over 50% of customers who purchase more than the median amount. So the heavy half accounts for 80 to 90% of your total purchases. So 50% of customers who purchase more than that median amount of your product. Now the 80-20 rule is 80% of companies' revenues is generated by 20% of its customers. And then brand loyalty, you can easily calculate this based off of past purchase history. So that's very situation specific for each different company, but companies use this. 80-20 rule is very common. I would say that's probably the most common if you've ever heard of that rule, and it's used in different other contexts as well. But for us, 80% of a company's revenue is generated by 20% of its customers. So a company could focus specifically on that 20% of customers because that's where their main business comes from. We could also focus on subjective general measures, and this could be based off of, we could do research on finding out customer motivations. We could also try to determine customer personality, and we could think of some psychographics that might be beneficial for us. And finally, we could look at benefit segmentation as a way of subjective and situation specific. So for our market segmentation strategy, since we've talked about all of those different things, and now we're coming to the kind of big picture approach, is that the idea for market segmentation strategy is to achieve competitive advantage and superior financial performance by identifying segments of demand, those who demand your product, target those segments, and then develop marketing mixes for each of those targeted segments. So we'll go through and discuss each of these. So we go through this segmentation, targeting, and positioning model where what segmentation strategy will you want to use? What will be your bases for segmentation? So what segmentation strategy? Maybe you want to use a differentiated approach. And so with that differentiated approach, what will be your bases for segmentation? Will you use objective general characteristics? Will you use objective specific, what will you use for segmenting? Which segments will you target? Which segments do you think will lead to the most potential for sustainable competitive advantage? And then positioning. How will you consider your marketing mix in reference to that specific target market? And that's the idea, is how will you position your company, product, or service relative to other existing companies, products, or services? So that's some questions that you should ask yourself whenever you're thinking about, you start at the top with that general segmentation strategy. Then you go further down with bases for segmentation. Then you go further down of, okay, which segments are we going to then target? And then how are we going to position our products to each of those target markets? So overall, we have the idea of segmentation. You identify those bases. You use those bases to identify the market segments. You identify combinations of segments that are kind of important for you to consider, maybe some alternatives, promising targets, and then you determine what type of resources you need to address each of those different target markets. Assess those resources and select your market segments as those target markets. You secure your resources necessary to target those, and then you position. With this, you have positioning plans that help you determine what aspects of the marketing mix you need to focus on for that target market, and you develop those for each of them. This is a nice positioning map that we could use to position our products on different dimensions. So here we have luxurious versus functional, and we have traditional versus sporty. So Porsche is kind of in the luxury sporty category, whereas we can see that Kia is more of the functional, and it's kind of right in the middle between traditional and sporty. So it's not really traditional, but it's not really sporty either. So it's really kind of quite in the middle. But we can position our products or our services or even our company on a positioning map and determine where it fits compared to other companies, other products, other services. This is just an example based off of the car brands or car companies. So this is a question that I leave you with to consider. In your opinion, which market segmentation structure, the strategy, one of the 4 general strategies, would be the most effective for helping select a target market and developing an appropriate marketing strategy? So I'll let you think about the general market segmentation structure, so the general market segmentation strategy, and then those bases of segmentations. What do you think is really like the most effective, the most important, what companies use the most? You should think about that, because as you go through and work on your market segmentation for your strategic marketing plan, you'll have to consider how you're going to target your specific customers for your products and services. So with that, if you have any questions on market segmentation strategy, feel free to email me at kt.manus@ttu.edu. Thanks. Bye-bye.